The crater is the same thing that makes it hazardous. It's where all the water goes.
Because there's a few things I can see in it. Like this thing. Looks like a head. So it starts here, it goes down, it comes down to here, and there's the nose, and there's the eye area. And then I thought this looked like an eye as well. But
It's when it rains.
there's so much to see.
So you're gonna have...
Just gotta pause it and have a look. Especially up here. I was trying to look up here with these patterns.
acid rain pushing rock and sediment down this water course at us, at our ropes. We need to wait for a really good day to make the full descent.
Later in the evening, Jeff uses a thermal camera to find the best sampling location in the crater.
Wow, that is insane.
The imagery on the camera gives Jeff information on where he should be looking for the extremophiles.
Right. So at the start, they said, oh, we don't actually know if things can live here. And now they're saying they're looking for extremophiles. What else are they doing here?
The lava lake there is off the charts, literally. That's too hot to actually read with this camera. This spot right up here around that plain that we've seen could be really appealing. There are a lot of rock faces that are facing the lava lake and getting a lot of that heat off of the molten rock. That's probably a high priority spot to go to. To imagine that tomorrow I'm headed down there is kind of terrifying. I would say this is probably one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. It would be pretty remarkable to me if there's actually life down inside the crater.
As Marum continues to light up the night sky in Vanuatu, it's the middle of the day in the heart of Africa, and it's burning up with geologic activity.
Back to the CGI image again.
3 of the planet's 30 erupting volcanoes are found here. One of the tallest and most active volcanoes in the region is Oldonyo Lengai. But far from causing devastation, the eruption here is just what this ecosystem needs. While most volcanic ash is full of silicates, the ash from Oldonyo Lengai is loaded with carbonate minerals.
Okay, so another vent system, which is loaded with carbon materials. So there's another one with a different purpose, which is exactly what it says in the Book of Enoch, that there are vents which have all a significant purpose.
As the ash rains down, it transforms the grasslands into a uniquely rich, nutritious pasture. After millions of years of volcanic activity,
Millions of years of volcanic activity? No.
the area has become
Does
a vital stage on the annual wildebeest migration.
all these animals are contemporary with our geological epoch.
The lush pasture is a giant nursery that draws in animals from all over the Serengeti ecosystem. More than 1 million wildebeest alone are nurtured by the nourishing grass that grows in the shadow of the volcano.
Okay. What do we see at the top of this site? This supposed volcano. A pyramid. Can you see it? Right there. Obvious. So, this is another site connected to the gods and creation. There's another one over there, down there. Look. So, this is why you must understand the importance of the pyramid connection to the one world culture, and how this and our salvation rests in the knowledge from the ancient past to do with creation, to truly understand who our enemy is. It rests at the core of our society that have used their money to put us in bondage and become an economic slave to work for evil.
A lot of the planet's volcanoes can sit dormant for centuries before explosively erupting. Life can become desensitized to the risks they pose. It's a dangerous game, considering we live on a relatively thin crust of rock, wrapped around a molten core of magma.
No, we don't. That's a lie. Because things like Jules Verne, you know, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and literally just understanding that what is geology and how they've lied to you about oil and what it is and how that's part of the creation, and it's mind-bending stuff, but it's a lie. It's not. This is fake.
Ecuador is home to a number of volcanoes that can erupt with little warning. Cotopaxi is one such giant.
Is this another site connected to the gods? I think it is.
Rising above 19,000 feet, it's one of the planet's highest volcanoes. But finding refuge at its feet is a very special little frog. This is the Quito rocket frog. They were once common across the Ecuadorian Andes, but disease and climate change have pushed them to the edge of extinction.
Okay. Disease? Who's been creating all the diseases? Well, I think you find out through geoengineering, spreading all these chemicals around the world, it's probably gonna kill a lot of animals eventually. And that has to do with frequencies and how they're manipulating the Gulf Stream, and that has to do with creation. So, yeah, they're the spreading the diseases. Sorry, what was the other thing?
It's a very special little frog. This is the Quito rocket frog. They were once common across the Ecuadorian Andes, but disease and climate change.
Oh, climate change. Right. Sorry, I ought to forget that. So disease and climate change go hand in hand, people. You know, they're spreading diseases through geoengineering, and the only reason that works is because they've lied to you about creation in the first place. So therefore climate change isn't real at all. It's them manipulating the creation to kill everything using diseases.
Have pushed them to the edge of extinction.
Destroying wildlife, places that actually harbour life, forests.
The tiny male sends a high-pitched call out through the undergrowth. He's waiting for a response from a female. Unfortunately, there's no answer. And that's not too surprising, as there are only thought to be around 100 individuals left in the wild. Like other disappearing species of frogs, he's one of the rarest animals in the world. Along with the rest of his kind, he now inhabits just one small creek. And if finding the last of his kind isn't hard enough, the volcano on which this frog lives has awakened.
Are these sites going off today trying to battle essentially what's really going on around us? Are the gods really aware that the elite forces are using this knowledge against humanity, and therefore activating certain volcanoes in order to help this supposed climate change scenario? Who knows?
Cotopaxi's summit is home to one of the world's few equatorial glaciers.
What caused the Ice Age to take out the Titans?
A catastrophic eruption here would create devastating lahars, boiling flash floods created by the rapid melting of snow and ice by the lava. If the volcano were to erupt, the stream that is home to this little frog would be transformed into a hot mudslide. Thankfully, the rocket frog now has a helping hand from a team of scientists from Quito.
Alright, let's go back 2 seconds. What?
Thankfully,
Do you think it's a coincidence that you see this symbol right on as they're stood there? Geocentric Earth? Right there? I don't think so.
the rocket frog now has a helping hand.
You see it? Right there. Was that painted on by them? I think so. Why would they do that? Think about it. Why would they even put that in the image? In the middle of nowhere, on this volcano, and then randomly you see this next to them. Come on, people, think about it. This has to do with subliminal messages hidden in plain sight. And the camera, don't forget, stretches this image so that things are further away, and this is tricking your subconscious mind.
A team of scientists from Quito. Andres and his team are frog fanatics.
This is the last known location where this frog can be found. It's very difficult to find the frogs. The best way to do it is trying to make them call to you back. So we make this sound, and that's the sound of the mating call, so they can respond to us.
The team is now frantically collecting the last remaining individuals for a breeding program. If successful, they will release a population back into a safer stream, out of the volcano's reach. For now, the fate of a species is in the hands of Andres and his team, and Cotopaxi.
No, we're going to get into that.
But back in Europe, some of the animals found around Mount Etna might have the upper hand when facing off with a giant volcano. The Argentata dell'Etna is a breed of goat found nowhere else in the world. Each morning, Gaetano hurls out onto the slopes of the volcano. The goats will eat just about anything. But Gaetano knows that on the upper slopes of Etna, there are glades of a yellow flower that he thinks gives his goat's milk a unique taste.
Ma io, le capre per me sono la mia vita, perché li accudisco da piccolini che crescono col biberone, anche li allevo.
Gaetano has been working on the mountain his whole life, and in that time, he's noticed some bizarre behavior in his animals.
Non è sempre, ma 2 o 3 volte l'anno non le trovo, perché non le trovo?
He believes that the goats behave erratically, not just during one of Etna's eruptions, but before one.
So, do animals have a connection to, or a sense to danger, a sense that they use, relates into frequencies?
Noi lo avvertivamo, alcune volte si avvertiva, alcune volte no, e invece loro lo avvertivano. E certo, può succedere anche, magari anche subito.
A team of scientists using GPS tags have now corroborated Gaetano's theory. The goats do, in fact, seem to be moving off the mountain before an eruption. It's as if they have a sixth sense, an intimate connection to the earth.
Here we go. Animals have a deep, deep connection to this earth. And so do you. Because you are meant to be the gardeners of Eden, which is the created earth. But you have been deceived by technologies and by money and by the core of our society who have planned well in advance a scenario that many do not see coming, involving nature, or the guise of it, through science and through their corrupt lies.
Could it be the vibration in the ground?
If you see animals flying in mass, I suggest you follow them.
Or the smell in the air? No one is sure what is triggering their retreat. But the next time you see a humble goat running in the opposite direction, it might pay to follow it. It's dawn in Vanuatu. And today, the weather is looking much more promising.
This just reminds me of trees. Tree branches. This whole thing.
In a few hours, Jeff will come face to face with the burning heart of Marum.
I think anyone would be terrified going into this crater. My family would think I'm insane. My friends would question why this seems like a good thing to do.
Okay, I'm going to rewind it a bit. 2 seconds. I'm just going to show you.
I think anyone would be terrified going into this crater. My family would think I'm insane. My friends would question why.
That is probably how he sees it with his eyes. Now, I showed that when they looked through the camera of the phone and they were using it to demonstrate. You could see how the camera, it can be used to trick your subconscious to make this Earth or with all their lies about everything else, to perceive it to be insignificant. You see that? But this is literally how he sees it.
This seems like a good thing to do. There's an easier way to do science. That may be true, but the samples we're after are extremely rare. So yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but taking these risks for the science makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, ready to rock?
Ready to rock, let's do this.
Cool. Awesome.
The pair's first challenge is the 1,300-foot vertical drop down to the crater floor.
Notably, they use a lot of numbers to portray a message to each other, and one of them is 13. I don't think it's a coincidence that therefore now to descend 13,000 feet. Do you?
The fear
Is that
and what's
true?
going on in the back of your mind there is a vertical cliff, a lava lake in the background, and so much loose material all around you that it's quite physically and mentally demanding.
It's not a lava lake.
Right now you've got all your trust in a nylon rope. A lot of loose material though, so we need to be really careful on where we put our rope, especially in these stages.
Yep.
But yeah, this is our biggest concern now.
Ready to do this?
Ready to do it?
Okay.
Okay, as soon as we get to this bottom section, I want us to get out of this watercourse and move out of it as quick as possible. Yeah, as quick as we can.
Yeah, this is the rockfall zone.
This is rockfall zone.
See that, Joe?
Look at every stone and make sure it's a solid step.
Once they clear the wall, they come face to face with the boulder field.
And that's going to be a nightmare to cross this unstable plateau of boulders. We're going to have to cut across here.
Yep.
And then head down. Tumble here could certainly mean a fiery death. As soon as we're on that black ash plain, I'm happy.
You see that one there? That's how it's perfectly square. Watch. Ah, I have to go back. Hold on. You see that a lot of these are what might be a part of some kind of marble structure at one point that have been destroyed. Let's watch this again.
Yep.
And then head down. Tumble here could certainly mean
This is where you gotta be so vigilant.
a fiery death. As soon as we're on that black ash plain, I'm happy.
This rock, this here. See, it just looks square. It's very hard to capture it when it was perfect, but you see what I'm saying? It's got some kind of structure to it, and so a lot of this could be destruction of a building of some kind that was near the summit.
Just as Jeff and Chris make it to the other side, there's bad news from the
Which means that ancient culture yet again was here at one point.
summit.
Okay, just a little weather update. So it's still okay here, but the clouds are definitely lowering. So we might be in for quite a bit of rain pretty soon.
Obviously, it's extremely acidic down here if it does
Also, when you look at the scale of certain things, it shows that there was massive infrastructure here.
rain, so we want to get out of here as fast as possible.
Because of that, hold on. Crikey.
So it's still okay here, but the clouds are definitely lowering. So we might be in for quite a bit of rain pretty soon.
Let's be vigilant. This... We're going to look at this in a sec. bit closer.
Obviously, it's extremely acidic down here if it does rain, so
Just looks like a head. You know, this bit looks like a mouth. It's been turned to stone.
we want to get out of here as fast as possible.
As the team approaches the lava lake in Vanuatu, in Hawaii, the eruption is beginning to slow down. The lava is starting to cool and harden. Despite the hostility of the landscape, it doesn't take too long for life to spring from the ashes. The ohia lahua is among the first to flourish in this new land. It's a tree native to Hawaii and well adapted to living on the lava flows. It helps to break down the hard rock into soil that will support an entire ecosystem. It can take 200 years of struggle for life to reclaim what was once its own.
There we go. So 200 years, and that'll be completely transformed. With the help of man, it could even be used to cultivate and to create various different plants that will benefit our species. $200 by the way. So not millions of years, 200 years. Do you get it?
Few animals manage to reach a speck of land this far out in the middle of the ocean.
How old are these trees? When you look out for trees and, you know that there's ones that are 500 years old, and then look around you today at the forests and everything we see, you know that it's new. It's not that old, and therefore when you look back through time, as I try to show you with the giant trees, you'll realise that we are living in a completely different epoch, and that the stones and our mud fossils and body parts of all different animals that once walked this earth that have now been turned to stone, of which we are living on top of.
Those that did find a way have been free to evolve into new ecological niches created by the volcano. This is certainly true of the island's insects. Nearly every species of caterpillar in the world is a herbivore, a plant eater. But this caterpillar is not looking for a leaf to eat. His claws are better suited to a more lively meal. A plant hopper. The best way to catch its prey is to launch an ambush attack. To stand a chance, the caterpillar needs to find some better camouflage. And then, wait for its prey to come close. Tiny sensitive clasps on the tip of its abdomen will trigger the attack. Hawaii is a land of strange and bizarre creatures. Isolated out in the Pacific, 90% of its native species are found nowhere else on the planet. And the continual disturbance by the volcano has created a landscape that can fast-track evolution.
There we go. So, fast-track evolution, 200 years, and the remarkability of life itself to just survive tells us that things aren't what we've been told. And is there a direct connection to the gods, the mountains, and new life being formed? Or, you know, is there ever answers? Which I think there are.
But it's not just the volcanic forests that harbor unique life forms.
You know, see this, look. I mean, this is looks like massive rock. It looks like it's been cut.
There is another hidden ecosystem within the volcano. A secret labyrinth carved by the flow of molten rock.
Okay, here we go. This is getting into another topic about, you know, the geological lies, and in all intents and purposes, again, there's multiple things to take into consideration. That involves, again, very large animals turned to stone, and petrification, and how the insides of these animals are now being labeled as so-called, you know, lava tunnels. And then you also got to take into consideration, you know, these things did not take millions of years to happen, and that they also have been using the same label to essentially show you places where ancient cultures used to be, where they've made these places underground. And this has to do with, you know, more ancient culture and ancient history and the end of days last time, and how it relates to what's really going on today, you know, and how we're doing exactly the same thing. We're digging tunnels underground the elites are doing it, and there is much more to say about how they've used nature to deceive you about so many things. But oh, for goodness sake. Right, be quick.
A secret labyrinth carved by the flow of molten rock.
Watch. Do you see how this is rib cages? They're right there, look. Do you see the bones? Do you see the bones? I mean, look. It's clearly a rib cage. So what I'm saying is this is a rib cage of a very large animal, and that these so-called tunnels are actually life that have been turned to stone from the time of the Titans, and now they're using nature to convince you of a lie. Yet again. You know, labeling these things nature, and to saying they take millions of years to form, when it is literally, you can see the bones inside this animal, man. Literally the bones. Do you see? See the ribs?
These caves were created by underground rivers of lava.
No, there wasn't.
That have since run dry.
How long does stalagmites take to form? Again, petrification, and that knowledge shows you a great deal of information that proves the earth is much younger than they tell us, and that the Bible, albeit that the truth within it has been edited and the names of the things and stories have been changed through time, that it's heavily still got the truth inside it from the time of the Golden Age, the time when all these pyramids were being around the world, by ourselves 3,600 years ago.
Annette Engel and Megan Porter are here to search for creatures that live in this
Interestingly, inside animals as well, including ourselves, we have tiny, tiny hairs that make things flow. Do you know exactly what they look like? Funny enough, they look like these things. So, these are little capillaries inside the animal's body that let things move around the body. We have exactly the same things inside our nose, inside our body, that do exactly the same thing. It's just this is on a much, much larger scale.
The really amazing
Which proves the Earth very young indeed.
thing about lava tubes is as soon as that lava has drained
It's not a lava tube, darling.
and it's cooled, then there are spaces available for animals to live in.
But the lava has left an obstacle course in its wake.
An obstacle course that is basically in the shape of, the internal organs of a very large animal.
Well, I think I know what's coming up. Ugh.
Also, that has been embellished, changed for ancient cultures to live inside these so-called mountains that are very large animals. Do you see now the connection to ancient cultures and the gods and the Bible?
I wish we didn't have to go through the squeeze.
And in lava, because it's so pointy, you're trying to crawl through it too.
One also must remember time is a lie, and that, yes, through time, these things get filled up as well with all sorts of different animals from a different epoch that absolutely got flooded into a lot of caves and caverns which are not millions of years old.
That is like a porcupine. It's got spines on it, so it's catching everything as you move.
No sunlight delivers energy into these caves. For years, the scientists were unsure as to what could possibly be living down here. But thanks to a little help from the surface, there's an unusual and thriving ecosystem inside the volcano.
How old are these things exactly? Are they millions of years old? No.
The roots come down into the lava tubes looking for water.
And there, right, when you think about this logically, about the trees, about the landscape, about everything, yeah? These things are not millions of years old, and if this cave was formed millions of years ago, then it should be, at one point, full of this. But as you know, it takes 200 odd years to go from complete devastation to absolutely abundance. So, how old are these roots coming down from the surface exactly?
And then those roots also structure the subterranean communities.
The roots are like a delivery system. They provide tiny amounts of sticky sap for life to live on.
Oh, I think I found something.
Oh yeah? What is it?
Let's go ahead and collect it and see. Oh, jumper.
Yay!
Excellent.
Many of these creatures are descendants of surface animals that lost their way in the caves, back through evolutionary time.
Right, here we go. Back through evolutionary time. How old are these things? How long are these veins? These roots. The answer is not very old, and then you have to go, well, how old is this animal? And then how does life really work? You see? Because you've been lied to about how it works. You've been lied to about the real mechanisms that govern our existence. So, in all intents and purposes, this is not evidence of evolution over millions of years old. It is evidence that life is very, very remarkable and resilient to adapt to any situation, to create a new species or to create something new.
Like this,
And that, to be honest, is amazingly complicated and engineered. It could no be any other way.
translucent thread-legged bug, a relative of the praying mantis.
It's called thread-legged because it has very long, thin, spindly legs. It was first described from some caves on the other side of the island, which is pretty far from here, so we're pretty sure that this is a new species.
So it's a new species, and they're gonna literally go back through time and go, oh look, that's the ancestor of it. You know? Bollocks.
I think there's
It's a new species because life can literally become new and adapt to its environment.
so many new species in these sorts of environments because of the volcano, because it's just such an active system. It's both destroying and creating new habitat that opens up space for species to move underground and to evolve and to become very distinct.
This is a fragile ecosystem. It's entirely reliant on the ecosystem.
Do you see this? Do you see how this relates to veins in an animal? Do you see how there's a artery there and then a vein here, look, perhaps? I mean, you got to rethink what you know about life and the ancient past and literally your whole interpretation of your existence.
Above for its support.
If the volcano wiped out the forest above where we're standing, that's going to wipe out the nutrient source for this ecosystem, because those root systems are really the lifeblood of the
200 years, people. 200 years.
ecosystem down here. But what we see is that as the forest recovers eventually, then you have insects that also move underground. And so it's a cycle.
And today, the cycle of death and creation
Close-up image of a supposed lava lake.
continues on in Hawaii. Nowhere on Earth have volcanoes affected the circle of life more than a few thousand miles to the east, in the Galapagos.
Now, interesting enough, this is exactly where I found some very interesting things to do with cold eras and ancient culture, where I found a very Mayan looking lady that's got 6 fingers and double rows of teeth that is very, very, very tall indeed. In the landscape, in this caldera, this supposed volcano, which proves that it isn't. Because then you got to question, well, how did that person get there? Look at these lines, man. It's more ancient culture being washed down there.
This violent volcanic outpost
Everywhere, man.
is home to an array of animals unique to these islands. The giant tortoise is one such creature. This individual shares the island of Isabella with the active vents of the Alcedo volcano. Tortoises are cold-blooded animals, meaning they rely on heat from their external environment to survive.
Take note of what this looks like. Okay? And then try and remember,
Each
look at
year,
the landscape, if you could see this similar patternation, right, but on a much, much larger scale, turned to stone. Guarantee you we'll be able to find it. If you go look for it, it will be found. You look for the right patterns, these patterns, in the landscape.
they migrate up to the crater in search of new feeding grounds. Along the way, they pause and appear to bask in the warmth of the active vents. And they snack on small bits of volcanic rock rich in minerals and salts. Even in a landscape riddled with volcanoes, life manages to find a way to thrive.
So, what is this we're really looking at? You know? Here we go. Ancient tree. Do you see this is very indicative of trees? And I guarantee there'll be roots, and these roots go all the way underneath this, and exactly is what a lot of animals are rested on, because this is like the ground level for understanding the ancient past. You know how this is a chopped tree. Down it went. Snap, snap, snap. And then they moved it somewhere.
The team in Vanuatu has finally reached the edge of the lava lake. The world that meets them at the bottom is full of steaming fumaroles and toxic clouds. Some of the water...
Right. This is where they were over there. You see all this white building material definitely does stand out.
Here is as acidic as battery acid. But Jeff hopes that extreme microscopic life forms are hiding within the sediment. He also wants to collect rocks bathed in the radiant heat and sulfurous clouds of the lava lake itself. Getting close enough for that requires an extra level of protection.
The lava
Never very straight, flat rock up.
lake itself has this magnetic pull, this extremely deadly feature.
This odd thing here. See? Perfect line. This is indicative of something that was destroyed in the ancient past. That was part of a white building.
Makes you keenly aware of how alive you really are.
Months of planning have led to this moment. Despite the dangers, Jeff pushes closer.
Careful, really, really careful.
Watch out. Please, please, be careful.
What I'm suggesting is that something happened to the time of the Titans, right? And then this sounds nuts, but it's all to do with like as above so below and the time of the Titans, and how basically we could be in like a dome underneath a sea, which was now in another world essentially, which is still in the world of the Titans, and how they managed to like cut a section from that world and bring it under the water, and then from that then create everything which this is part of. You know, it's I don't, you know, so there's so many questions to answer, but it's not important. The most important thing is to know how they've lied to you, you know what I mean, about everything. You know, you don't have to know every answer, you just got to know that there's evil at the core of our society, and they've used the television to convince you of a false perception of reality. Anyway.
Has this magnetic pull, this extremely deadly feature, makes you keenly aware of how alive you really are.
Months of planning have led to this moment. Despite the dangers, Jeff pushes closer.
Careful, really, really careful.
Watch out. Please, be careful.
There we go. One eye symbolism. Hidden in plain sight. Seems innocent, but there you go. One eye.
If the rocks here harbor life, it could be in forms brand new to science. For Jeff, the samples are worth risking his life. Before leaving, he takes a temperature reading. The lava lake is off the scale, and the rock facing the heat is over 150 degrees. With the precious material bagged and labeled, Jeff and Chris begin the long journey back to camp.
This odd feature here. Going all the way along.
With the precious material back.
Is it me or does that look like a doorway there? Oh, it's just the camera blurring. It just looks odd, this area.
Labeled. Jeff and Chris begin the long journey back to camp. Thankfully, with some help from motorized ascenders. Thankfully, with some help from motorized ascenders.
Just cannot notice this here. Something not right about this. Can't put my finger on it. Just looks like an arm or something. You know? Very large arm. Some kind.
Life is found almost everywhere on Earth. But where is the line beyond which life can't go? What conditions are too much for even the single-celled organisms, the bacteria and archaea? Or maybe even types of life we've never even seen before. By sampling here, we're seeking the very limits of what life can endure.
Well, alrighty. We're alive!
Discovering microscopic life forms in Marham.
Right, going back to the tree. Do you not see how this looks like a tree? From here, and it goes all the way up there, and this looks like the stump end. Do you see it? It's very difficult to see. But I can show you pictures of Mount Ararat, and how that looks definitely like a tree.
Could help the team reveal more about the extremes of life on Earth. And could even build a better picture of how life originated. Extreme conditions created by volcanoes are not limited to terrestrial environments. At the bottom of the ocean, where Earth's tectonic plates part, the sea floor.
Okay. It's the last topic. Tectonic plates. If this place is insignificant, which obviously it isn't, are tectonic plates even genuinely real? Or, you know, has the land masses really moved around? Or is that a lie? Because geology is life, and you know, what we see today with our eyes proves that everything we've been taught is a lie, you know? So everything you think you know should be questioned, you know? And when you begin to use logic and your eyes and understanding, then you'll know that this is just how it is, you know? This is how they've used the television to program you into believing a lie.
Comes alive. Water and minerals, heated from volcanic activity beneath the surface, form giant hydrothermal vent systems. It's thought that it was in these kinds of environments that life began 3.7 billion years ago.
And as we've discussed just then, you know, they don't know where life comes from. And yet they keep telling us it's water, and then they go, oh yeah, but volcanoes are insignificant and not strategically placed at all, you know, across the earth, for a purpose that is to do with creation, you know, and then lie to you, you know, about this whole entire bloody earth.
The planet's first single-celled microbes needed an energy source. Harnessing the volcano, they burst into existence and ultimately evolved into the myriad life forms we see today.
And there you go, you know? It's like life is remarkable in so many ways that it can literally become something it new. And that doesn't take millions of years, as shown by the last bit of the video where, you know, the roots had life that never existed before, new species, that took 200 years, you know, that came from a surface species that that changed, you know, into that. You know, it's that simple. And then when you question everything else, how old is these things itself? It's not 3.7 billion years old, is it?
It's that same process of producing a lot of energy and amazing gradients of heat, and that's what we see down here. That's what makes volcanoes really frightening in a lot of ways. They're very dangerous because of that.
I mean, he's got this t-shirt on with the pyramids on it, man. See? He's got Patago or something. Patagonia, maybe. But there's 3 pyramids on that.
But they also can provide that spark that life needs to begin.
Back in camp, Jens and Jeff process the material taken from the crater floor, looking for signs of life from inside the volcano.
We've stained some of our samples with a fluorescent dye that attaches to double-stranded DNA, the genetic material of life. If anything glows, that's a positive sign.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you found stuff?
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep. Beautiful. Nice and shiny.
That's amazing, though. There's life down there.
Yep, we got a few cells.
Jens can see luminous specks of light.
Here we go. Listen, folks. They've just took a bit of rock, right? That is light, made of life. Yeah, all life is geology. So of course there's microbes in it. It's a no-brainer if all life is geology. So what have they really proven? Nothing.
A telltale...
Literally, this is the whole point. The whole charade of evolution. You gotta see everything. And understand how they've used science to prove nonsense. But, you know, they're the elite banking theories that were created in the 1800s. You know, still taught today at schools.
Sign of cells. The basic building blocks of life on Earth.
So it isn't, you know, no shit, there's going to be life in it. Because it's fucking life.
The fact that life likely survives in the crater is amazing. These microbes can deal with conditions that you or I would think is instantly deadly. But to them it's home, and they've managed to eke out a living getting just enough energy to survive. What that means in terms of life's origin and its possibility to exist on other planets is still up for debate, and we think that this is a really good place to start that quest.
Right, so just to clarify that the whole agenda to go there, right, was to prove that life can be on other planets. Now, they've lied to you about the cosmological principles, and therefore there's no such thing as these planets, okay? Water is space. They've lied to you, okay? The Bible tells us the truth, and you are created, this earth is created, and that's because, geologically speaking, it goes through the time of the Titans, time of the Titans, time of the Giants, and the time of man. So this is what you got to bear in mind. Their whole purpose for this was to prove to you that life on Mars can happen when Mars doesn't even exist. It's a cymatic pattern of and frequency device, which is not billions of light years away, because we can't see that far. Literally, everything is local to our field of view. The stars are local to our field of view, and they're not what you think them to be. So it's very, very obvious that many of you would believe all of their narrative, even though when you literally take it apart, like I'm trying to show you, none of it has any bearing on what we actually see with our eyes and science that actually proves otherwise, that you have not looked at. You know, many of you keep thinking that this world is what you perceive it to be, and you will defend it to with your life, not knowing that you're defending evil's theories and those that are literally trying to corrupt everything, including yourselves, through not understanding subconscious programming, and that your subconscious cannot turn off in the womb. So it's one thing to, you know, lie about these things, but then when you start looking about what they're all intended for, you'll see that it is for a purpose that goes against humanity. You know, that these people have lied to you all in order for them to get away with what's actually going on around us today. That we have all fallen from grace, and that truth is our only salvation. And that means a lot. Just means saving your soul, but also means saving physical lives from what is to come.
There are now many months of in-depth analysis ahead.
A human figure.
The samples collected from the edge of the lava lake were photographed under a more advanced microscope back in the United States. Further study is still needed, but based on the team's observations, they're confident life lives within a few feet of one of the world's most active lava lakes.
It's everywhere. Literally, all life is in the bloody rocks. Because it was life at one point, and life is indestructible, just like blood.
If we are to look for life among the stars, then we need to know what we are looking for. The discovery in Marham builds a picture of what life might look like elsewhere in our universe.
This is the front lines of
Just go back to the universe. We are not forever expanding, and we literally are stationary. We have a local sun and moon, and a lot of these images are not real. Also, when you think logically about if these things are real, the stars rotate around a stationary Earth, which means we are in some kind of protective device that is actually at the center of the universe.
The discovery in Marham builds a picture of what life might look like elsewhere in our universe.
This is the front lines of astrobiology and the idea of looking for life beyond Earth.
Considering the fact that almost 30 volcanoes erupt every 24 hours, it's remarkable to think that life has not only managed to survive, it thrives on our violent planet.
It's a necessity for all life to live.
There's no doubt that life in...
As it's part of creation, and the enemy of humanity and all life are using the guise of science and the knowledge of creation to destroy this created Earth.
The shadow of a volcano is full of risk. But is it time
to hell of ancient sites?
Time for us to realign our perception of volcanoes?
Yes, it is.
We're not here in spite of them. We are here because of them.
There we go. That's because they're part of creation. So, thank you very much for watching this very long episode of Not for the Weak-Minded. Please share, like and subscribe and comment. I have many more things to show. Thank you.